Nerdies and Greebles, lots of little practical fun stuff. For example, we need the force stock. This is a force stock I just made out of a piece of dowel. And then I found an old shop vac hose and kind of flattened it out, kind of heated it, flattened it out, and then wrapped it around here and epoxied it to the dowel. Okay, I don't worry about the colors or anything like that because it's going to be covered anyways. So from here, I got this cool little handle we want to put on here. So I want to make it removable. So what we're going to do is I whipped up this piece. There's a piece of a Centra here that keys into the slot. So it slides right in and out like this. So you work on it. You do this beforehand. Make sure that your clearance is high enough on this. And then I put a bit of an angle on it in the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to center this. So that's going to go like this. This is a little glue. Now, if you kick it, it's going to go off instantly. Whereas if you just glue it in place, like, for example, like this, you just put the glue on one side. It gives you a couple more seconds to adjust your center. And you press it down, hit it with the glue, hit it with the kicker, I mean. Nicely centered. And then we can take our piece like this and boom. Got our clip. Okay. One surface detail on here to cover up some of the blemishes and the bad spots. So this is where you start building out the detail. For example, I have this already pre-made, but this is a part of the design. So this will key over like this, which will give it some dimension, as you can see. And then we're going to cut this piece out here, and this is going to go over this area, and it'll be modified to, basically it's going to look like this piece here. I made this earlier, but it was a little small, so this would key over like this. But I want to hide a little bit more in here. You know what? This piece is fine. I'm going to use something for the other side. But you want to make sure that there's clearance on it when that gets glued down, and make sure it doesn't interfere with this. This is the lens. All right. This is just a piece of acrylic tubing, but you can use it almost like fiber optics. If you clear coat or sand and polish the back of fiber optics, the light will travel through it easier. And when you mat it or you sand it roughly on the front side, I'll give you an example. This is a clear piece of acrylic tube, okay, which is cut on both ends. But if you hold it up to the light, you see how it'll transfer light, but it won't transfer in, you won't see it in this area until you rough it up. If you rough it up, then it'll glow. See? That's the same basic effect that we have going on with this. This side here is polished, so the light passes through it evenly, and then the light gets stopped whenever you buff it out. This is just a ring to fit the inner dimension of the acrylic tube that we drop on there, so when you pull the trigger, you get that effect. So it just picks up a lot easier on when it's clear. So that drops in there like this, and you can glue this in there. I'm not going to glue it in right now because we may want to access it for some reason. So, and this is this should be a little bit stiffer. It's easy enough to create the stiffness because what you can do is take a little bit of metal tape. So what I want to do with this is just to thicken it out just a little bit. You just want to widen it. So what we'll do is we'll just drop this piece of metal tape on here. wrap it around the side, and then take a razor blade, just kind of trim away the excess. Be careful when using your razor blade, you don't want to cut yourself. This way, when you put this on, it's nice and snug, so it isn't going anywhere. Nerney's and Greebles. It's an old model maker term for small details that sell an object. You work up the details a little bit at a time. This is like a pistol grip. This is like a grip, a rubber grip that I found a piece of an old vacuum cleaner. It's like a rubber grip, and that will go on here. It gets adhesive onto the handle, okay? And we'll do the same thing to the other side. Then this will go on here and get attached, sanded, smooth, and getting prepped for paint. Now, I still want to be able to take this off. There's certain parts I still like to be able to take off so that when we paint it, they're not going to be painted the same color as the rest of the gun. I want them to be different. So we'll put this on last, this type of a thing. Obviously, this will come off, and we have to cap up all the ends, cap up all the open ends that are in it, and as well as covering the wires and such. But you want to still be able to access it, just in case you have to get to the wires. You want to still leave yourself an option. So usually what I'll do is I'll just tack it down for right now until I'm completely sure, or if it's going to stage, if it's getting shipped out, well, then everything gets dialed in right before you paint it. So we're going to put this clip, this back on, and what I want to do here is I made a couple shoulder, it's like a shoulder press that goes in here. So I made this. You can cut that on a bandsaw, and I cut it on a slight angle. Now it's still rough, so everything wants to be sanded so that when you spray it, it takes the finish real nice. There's different paints that you can use, like Hammerite, which will give it a texture, but it also does a lot of filling. It fills up the your material area. If you're using aluminum or ABS or PVC, chances are you probably won't have to. If this was going to be like a real gun, it would, a lot more detail. Say if I was machining it, we would use plexiglass and aluminum and a variety of other materials. But sometimes those are very hard to get a hold of. So that's why we're doing an MDF. So anyways, this detail goes on here and gives it that buttstock effect. All right. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and adhesive this guy in. What you always want to do is sand your surfaces, whatever you're gluing to. You're gluing surface to surface, generally material of like to each other. Usually not too bad. MDF is not really a big problem with gluing. But if we're gluing to aluminum, especially aluminum, you want to pre-sand the area in order to get good adhesion. So you just take a piece of like 100 grit sandpaper and just rough it up. And then what we'll do is drop in our slow glue here. And this wants to be relatively thick and chewy because of the usage that it's going to have. Anyways, that keys into there like this. Here, we'll pull this off so you can see. So you want it to be flush across the back. And once you're holding it in place, then you want to take your kicker and you want to zap that. Okay. Now there's no pieces to get caught. So this is like, when you use this is almost like a surefire that the thing is going to adhere nice. So what you do is you use this after the fact just to really get into all the crannies and the nooks and crannies that you want to there. and it's good and stiff. And then you take your razor blade and just cut away any excess. There was a little bit of glue seepage, but as you can see how easily it peeled off of there? If you don't sand it, that's what'll happen. I got some cool little parts here. Now, these are dropped in to give it some structural support in here. So I want it to look like it was something that was engineered to fit in there. So what I did is I put these little lightning holes in there, which gives it, I'm probably not going to put all 3 of them in there, but I'll just put one in. And how you do that is you can go ahead and cut out your part. Usually what I like to do is you can either take a pattern from a piece of styrene, cut a piece of material, kind of fit it, figure out what your angle is. What I like to do a lot of times is take, for example, say like if I was going to put that angle in there, okay? I take my pencil, and what I would do is kind of lay it in the general position where I want it to be, and then just take a stencil off of it like this. So that's my angle, and say I want the thing to run from here to say here where this line is. So I just mark that. So when I pull it off, I just connect the dots like this, boom, and I got this part. So that's how you find out quick angles. You don't have to get a squangle out or any type of like angle finder or anything like that. You just you can just eyeball it like that and save the details and the hardcore finishing for towards the end. In the film industry, it's all about speed. You know, you got to move this thing. You got to get it out there. And even though you're having fun with it, you just learn how to make things a little faster in order to get at the stage and make the money, because we make a living at this stuff. You know, you have to be efficient at it, or you're not going to be doing it for very long. So, anyways, we've got our 2 pieces here, which I already have cut up, and what I'm going to do is tag them together. And what I want to do is have them opposite of each other, because I drew little lightning holes, which is just going to basically take a drill and drill these out. But they have a direction to them. Each one has a direction to it. So what I'm going to do is, and I don't want to glue it in the center because that's where the hole is going to be, obviously. So I'm anticipating where the hole is going to be. So I just want to tack it just a little bit right there. Put the kicker on there. And then align it. Now, there's a double stack. It's ready to go. Just like this. I was going to cut 2 parts of this piece, which is a panel that goes over this area. So it covers up the wires, gives it a detail, and then it'll get Nernies and Greebles on top of it. All right, so we're going to go to the bandsaw and cut out these parts. You don't have to worry too much about stuff not fitting dead on because it's more of a speed thing. We're going to go back and we're going to patch and fill whatever is a problem. Okay, so here's our panel. I'm going to drop that in there. Just put a couple drops. Mainly you want to flush up to the top. That's your line.